Being highly intelligent can feel like both a blessing and a curse. Intelligence helps you solve complex problems, navigate challenges, and see truths others often miss. But when it comes to love, that same sharp mind can turn against you. Instead of bringing clarity, it creates barriers, walls of overthinking, high expectations, and deep skepticism that make finding real connection harder than anyone imagines. If you've ever wondered why, despite your intelligence, relationships feel so difficult, why conversations quickly seem shallow, why trust feels so fragile, why love seems to slip away just when it's within reach, you are not alone. Many of the most intelligent people struggle with this exact pain. It isn't because they are unlovable. It's because the way their mind works makes love feel less like a natural flow and more like an impossible puzzle. The Stoics knew this paradox well. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the mind is both a gift and a burden. It can free you or it can trap you. And in love, intelligence often becomes the very trap that holds people back from the connection they desire most. In this video, we'll uncover the 6 reasons highly intelligent people struggle finding love. And reason number 4? It's the silent one. The one even the smartest people rarely admit. Yet it quietly sabotages more relationships than anything else. Stay with me. Let's dive in. Reason number 1. Overanalyzing every detail. It starts with something as small as a text message. A simple, "Hey, how are you?" sent late at night can trigger an entire storm inside the mind of a highly intelligent person. Instead of reading it at face value, their mind begins dissecting it word by word. Why did they say hey and not hi? Why at night and not during the day? Did the lack of an emoji mean disinterest, or was it a sign of seriousness? What for most people is a quick exchange, for them becomes an endless chain of interpretations. This is the curse of overanalyzing. Highly intelligent people excel at seeing patterns, predicting outcomes, and imagining multiple possibilities at once. These skills serve them in careers, problem-solving, and decision-making, but in love they can turn into obstacles. Because love is not a formula to be solved. It's a flow to be lived. Yet the intelligent mind resists flow. It wants certainty, control, and explanations. And since people are unpredictable, love becomes a puzzle with missing pieces they cannot stop searching for. The problem with overanalyzing is not just mental exhaustion, it's emotional paralysis. When every action, every word, every silence is dissected, it becomes nearly impossible to relax into the natural rhythm of a relationship. Instead of enjoying the moment, the intelligent person is in their head, running simulations of what might happen next. What did they really mean? Are they losing interest? Am I reading too much into this, or not enough? These questions create a constant state of tension where love feels less like connection and more like a test they're destined to fail. I once heard a story of a man who walked away from a relationship not because there were clear problems, but because he couldn't stop imagining future ones. He analyzed his partner's tone when she spoke, the timing of her responses, the way she phrased simple questions. Each detail became a potential red flag in his mind. But the reality was simpler. She was just being human. His intelligence created problems where none existed. And in the end, what failed was not the relationship. It was his inability to stop overthinking it. Psychologically, this overanalysis comes from a desire for safety. Intelligent people know the pain of mistakes, so they try to predict and prevent them. They want to see every possible outcome before it arrives. But in relationships, that means they rarely allow themselves to be vulnerable. Vulnerability requires trust in uncertainty. Overanalyzing, by contrast, is an attempt to eliminate uncertainty altogether. The irony is that in trying to protect themselves, they end up sabotaging the very intimacy they long for. The Stoics had a warning for this. Epictetus said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Overanalyzing is exactly this, suffering twice, once in the moment and again in the imagined scenarios that may never come. Marcus Aurelius urged himself to meet reality as it is, not as fear paints it. Love, like life, requires presence. When your mind runs endlessly ahead, you are never truly with the person in front of you. So how can highly intelligent people overcome this? The answer lies not in shutting down their thoughts, but in redirecting them. Instead of asking, "What did they mean by this word?" ask, "What do I actually know right now?" Instead of analyzing possible futures, practice returning to the present moment, where love actually lives. And instead of trying to control uncertainty, accept it as part of the human experience. Because the truth is, love will always involve risks, and no amount of analysis will change that. Here's the harsh reality. Overanalyzing every detail may protect you from imagined dangers, but it also keeps you from real joy. It drains the spontaneity from love, replacing it with suspicion and second-guessing. And unless you learn to let go, you'll keep pushing away the very connection you're searching for. Reason 2. High standards and expectations. For highly intelligent people, love often fails, not because they can't attract others, but because almost no one seems to measure up. The sharper the mind, the clearer it sees flaws. And the clearer it sees flaws, the harder it becomes to accept anyone as enough. What begins as a desire for true compatibility slowly morphs into an endless search for perfection, a standard no real human can ever satisfy. At first glance, this seems reasonable. Intelligent people are used to holding themselves to high standards in their careers, goals, and personal lives, so naturally they carry the same expectations into relationships. They want a partner who is thoughtful, articulate, emotionally stable, ambitious, and deeply self-aware. But here's the trap. The more boxes they create, the fewer people ever fit. And when someone doesn't meet every criterion, disappointment quickly overshadows potential connection. I once knew a woman who was brilliant, successful, and deeply introspective. She met plenty of men who admired her, but she dismissed them for reasons that, on paper, seemed valid. This one wasn't ambitious enough, that one didn't read enough philosophy. Another wasn't emotionally expressive in the right way. Years passed, and while she waited for the perfect partner, she found herself increasingly isolated. Her intelligence gave her clarity about what she wanted, but also blinded her to the reality that no one could be flawless. The psychological driver behind these high expectations is a craving for certainty. Intelligent people often believe that if they choose carefully enough, they can avoid heartbreak altogether. By demanding perfection, they try to eliminate risk. But love is not built in laboratories. It is messy, unpredictable, and full of imperfection, and the refusal to tolerate imperfection means the refusal to let love grow. The Stoics warned about this tendency. Seneca once said, "We are always complaining that our days are few and acting as though there would be no end of them." In relationships, this applies to the way we dismiss people too quickly, as if we'll have endless opportunities to meet someone who finally checks every box. But life isn't generous with unlimited chances. Often, what we call flaws are simply human realities, and what we call standards are sometimes disguised fears. Love requires room for imperfection. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that he would meet people who were selfish, ignorant, or weak, but that this was part of being human and therefore unavoidable. The intelligent person must remember the same truth. If you demand perfection, you will never find connection. What matters is not whether a partner has flaws, but whether you can grow together despite them. So how do highly intelligent people break free from this trap? By shifting their standards from external checklists to internal values. Instead of asking, "Do they meet every requirement?" ask, "Do we share the same core principles? Can we support each other's growth?" Intelligence must be paired with humility. The humility to accept that love is not about constructing the perfect partner, but about building a meaningful life with an imperfect human being. Here's the reality. High standards protect you from mediocrity, but impossible expectations protect you from love itself. And until you learn to differentiate between what truly matters and what doesn't, you'll keep searching endlessly, mistaking isolation for wisdom. The truth is, being highly intelligent doesn't mean finding someone flawless. It means being wise enough to embrace the flaws that don't destroy love, and strong enough to let go of the ones that do. Reason 3. Intolerance for shallow connections. Few things frustrate highly intelligent people more than shallow connections. For them, there is nothing more suffocating than being trapped in conversations about the weather, gossip, or endless small talk that never touches anything real. While others may find these exchanges harmless or even enjoyable, intelligent minds often feel starved in such moments, like being offered crumbs when what they hunger for is a feast. The difficulty lies in the mismatch of depth. Intelligent people spend much of their time thinking about meaning, purpose, patterns of human behavior, or the deeper truths of existence. When they enter a conversation and find nothing but surface-level chatter, their minds disengage. They are not trying to be arrogant or dismissive. It's simply that their inner world is too expansive to be satisfied with superficiality. And in relationships, this intolerance becomes a barrier. What should have been the natural early stage of getting to know someone quickly turns into disillusionment, because the intelligent person feels they are speaking across a gap that cannot be bridged. Imagine going on a date where your partner talks at length about the latest celebrity scandal or the trivial drama at their workplace. For many, this might be an easy way to pass the time. But for the intelligent individual, it feels hollow. They crave conversations that peel back the layers, questions about values, dreams, philosophy, and the why behind the choices people make. Without that depth, they often leave feeling lonelier than before, wondering if anyone is truly capable of meeting them where they live internally. Psychologically, this intolerance comes from the way intelligent people process the world. Their heightened sensitivity to patterns and meaning makes them restless in environments that lack substance. It isn't snobbery, it's a need for alignment. Just as a musician struggles in silence or a painter feels stifled without color, the intelligent person feels drained in connections that never go beyond the surface. But here's the paradox. Building intimacy often requires patience with the shallow stages. Love does not usually begin with profound conversations about life's meaning. It often begins with the simple. The Stoics understood this balance well. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that people are often absorbed by trivial concerns, but that this does not make them unworthy of compassion. Seneca, too, urged that we not despise the ordinary, for it is often the soil where deeper truths eventually grow. So how can highly intelligent people navigate this challenge? First, by reframing small talk as a bridge rather than a barrier. Instead of rejecting it outright, see it as the first step toward deeper dialogue. Second, by asking better questions, guiding the conversation gently toward subjects that matter to them rather than waiting passively for depth to appear. And third, by practicing patience, remembering that intimacy takes time to unfold. Not every meaningful relationship begins with philosophy. Sometimes it begins with laughter over the ordinary. Here's the truth. Intolerance for shallow connections is both a strength and a weakness. It ensures that intelligent people never settle for hollow bonds, but it also risks isolating them before true connection can form. The key is to balance their hunger for depth with the humility to let relationships grow naturally. Because love, like wisdom, is not discovered in an instant. It is cultivated over time, often beginning in places that seem trivial, but ending in places that feel infinite. Reason 4. Emotional overthinking. Love is supposed to be felt. But for highly intelligent people, it often becomes something to be dissected. Instead of simply experiencing their emotions, they analyze them, questioning every feeling, every shift in mood, every moment of attraction. They ask themselves, do I really love this person, or is it just infatuation? Is this relationship genuine, or is my brain tricking me with chemicals? What if I'm mistaking comfort for true passion? What should be a natural flow of emotions turns into an endless interrogation, leaving them paralyzed in the very place where they should feel most alive. This is the curse of emotional overthinking. Intelligent people are trained, whether by habit or by personality, to scrutinize everything. It works well in solving problems or making big life decisions, but love is not a theorem to prove or a code to crack. It is lived, not solved. By constantly dissecting their emotions, intelligent people create distance between themselves and their own hearts. They treat feelings as data points to be studied rather than experiences to be embraced. The result? Emotional disconnection. While their partner is fully present, enjoying a moment of intimacy or joy, the intelligent person is lost in their head, analyzing whether the intimacy is authentic, whether the joy will last, or whether they should be feeling something more. This constant questioning doesn't only rob them of the present, it leaves their partner feeling unappreciated, as if their love is on trial rather than received. I once knew a man who walked away from a genuinely loving relationship because he convinced himself it wasn't the right kind of love. He kept comparing his calm, steady bond with his partner to the intense passion he imagined love should feel like. Instead of valuing the stability he had, he overanalyzed his own lack of fireworks. And in doing so, he destroyed the peace that was already in his hands. His intelligence blinded him to the truth. Love isn't always dramatic. It is often quiet, consistent, and steady. Psychologically, emotional overthinking comes from fear. The intelligent person fears being wrong about love. They fear giving their heart to the wrong person, being blinded by passion, or ending up in regret. So they try to outthink vulnerability, believing that if they analyze hard enough, they can avoid heartbreak. But this mindset itself becomes the cause of heartbreak, because it prevents them from ever fully giving themselves to another. The Stoics warned against this. Epictetus said, "We are not disturbed by what happens, but by our opinions about what happens." Emotional overthinking is exactly that. Being disturbed not by the reality of love, but by the endless interpretations we attach to it. Marcus Aurelius urged himself to stay present, to act in accordance with nature, not imagination. In relationships, this means letting yourself feel without drowning in analysis. How can highly intelligent people break free from this trap? By practicing what the Stoics called simplicity of judgment. Instead of asking, "Is this the perfect kind of love?" ask, "What am I experiencing right now?" Instead of analyzing whether your feelings are correct, recognize them as human and real. And most importantly, accept that love, by its very nature, carries risk. To demand certainty before loving is to never love at all. Here's the truth. Emotional overthinking doesn't protect you from pain, it protects you from joy. It drains the wonder and spontaneity from love, replacing them with suspicion and self-doubt. Until you learn to quiet the endless questions and trust your own heart, love will always feel like a riddle with no answer. But the answer was never in analysis, it was always in the living. Reason 5. Fear of vulnerability. For many highly intelligent people, vulnerability feels like weakness. They can debate, analyze, and strategize with ease. But when it comes to opening their heart, letting someone see their fears, flaws, or insecurities, they freeze. Love requires exposure, a willingness to be known beyond achievements and intellect. And yet, this is precisely what terrifies the intelligent mind. the loss of control that comes when another person has the power to hurt you. It often begins with subtle defenses. They keep conversations intellectual instead of emotional. They share their thoughts generously, but guard their feelings carefully. They may even joke about their past struggles instead of truly opening up about them. On the surface, this makes them seem composed, independent, even strong, but underneath lies a quiet fear. If they see the real me, will they still love me? This fear of vulnerability often comes from experience. Intelligent people are acutely aware of how cruel the world can be. They've seen betrayal, manipulation, or rejection firsthand, and their minds remember every detail. To protect themselves, they build walls. They tell themselves they are being rational, cautious, and wise. But in reality, those walls don't just keep out pain, they also keep out intimacy. A partner may feel close, yet somehow still shut out, as if there is always a locked door between them. I once heard about a man who was deeply respected in his career, confident, decisive, admired by all. But in his marriage, his wife often felt alone. He could discuss global politics or abstract philosophy, but when she asked him how he felt about their future, he would retreat into silence or offer a vague response. His fear of vulnerability made him appear distant, even when he was physically present. Eventually, she no longer wanted ideas. She wanted his heart. And because he could not give it, the relationship unraveled. Psychologically, fear of vulnerability is rooted in the need for control. Intelligent people believe that if they never expose their soft spots, they cannot be betrayed. But the paradox is clear. By refusing to risk pain, they also refuse the possibility of real love. Vulnerability is not the opposite of strength. It is the foundation of intimacy. Without it, relationships remain surface-level, transactional, or one-sided. The Stoics understood this tension. Seneca wrote that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it. To open yourself to another person, knowing you may be hurt, is an act of profound courage. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that nothing truly human is alien to him. Vulnerability is human. To deny it is to deny a part of our nature. So how can intelligent people learn to embrace vulnerability? By reframing it. Instead of seeing it as weakness, see it as strength, the willingness to stand unarmored, to risk pain for the sake of connection. Start small. Share a fear, admit a flaw, express affection without waiting for guarantees. Each act of openness is a step toward deeper intimacy. Here's the truth. The fear of vulnerability doesn't protect you from heartbreak, it ensures it. Because no one can truly love the version of you that is hidden behind walls. They can only love the version you're brave enough to reveal. And until you let yourself be seen fully and honestly, you'll never know the kind of love your heart has been longing for all along. Reason 6. Prioritizing independence over connection. There's a certain pride that comes with being able to stand on your own 2 feet. For highly intelligent people, independence isn't just a skill, it's an identity. They have built lives where they rely on no one, where every decision, every achievement, every milestone carries their own signature. But in love, this fierce independence can become a wall too thick for anyone else to climb. Think about the professional who has structured every hour of their day around their projects, goals, and personal passions. They are admired for their discipline, envied for their accomplishments, and respected for their clarity. Yet when a relationship begins to demand time, compromise, or emotional availability, they hesitate. It feels like love is asking them to trade their autonomy for intimacy, and for someone who has built their life on self-sufficiency, that trade feels unbearable. This mindset creates a subtle but devastating pattern. Relationships never take root because independence is always prioritized over connection. Not because they don't want love, but because they fear losing themselves inside it. They view dependence as weakness, forgetting that healthy love is never about one person losing. It's about two people gaining. I recall an old colleague who had everything seemingly in place. She traveled where she wanted, worked on her own terms, and often said, "I love my freedom too much to tie it down." Yet, when her friends gathered with their partners and families, she sometimes lingered in silence. Her independence gave her freedom, yes, but it also gave her loneliness. She hadn't avoided love entirely. She had avoided the vulnerability and compromise love requires. And in doing so, she cut herself off from the very nourishment she secretly craved. Psychologically, this over-prioritization of independence comes from fear. Intelligent people know how much work they've invested in their identity, and the thought of merging that with another feels like surrender. They tell themselves, "I'll let someone in when they prove they won't disrupt my balance." But no relationship can be entirely disruption-free. Connection, by nature, changes you. The question is whether it changes you for better or worse, and refusing to risk it means refusing to experience it at all. The Stoics had a keen awareness of this paradox. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that while strength comes from within, no person was designed to live entirely apart from others. He wrote that we are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids. Independence is noble, but without connection, it becomes incomplete. Even the strongest tree, standing tall on its own, still needs soil, sun, and rain. So how can intelligent people recalibrate this balance? By redefining independence. True independence is not isolation. It is having the strength to choose love without the fear of losing yourself. It's the ability to maintain your identity while also allowing someone else to enrich it. Instead of viewing love as a surrender, see it as an expansion of life, where two independent beings choose to share their strength rather than guard it against each other. Here's the truth. Prioritizing independence over connection may give you freedom, but it may also cost you the intimacy that gives life meaning. A self-built fortress protects you from disappointment, but it also shuts out joy. And until you let yourself risk connection, you may remain free, but you will also remain alone. Love is never easy, but for highly intelligent people, it often feels like an unsolvable riddle. Their sharp minds overanalyze, their high standards filter too harshly, their craving for depth dismisses the simple beginnings, and their tendency to overthink emotions turns joy into doubt. Add to that the fear of vulnerability and the habit of prioritizing independence above all else, and suddenly love, something meant to be natural, becomes a battlefield of the mind. But here's the truth the Stoics would remind us of. Intelligence is not the enemy of love. What matters is learning to master your own thoughts instead of letting them master you. Epictetus warned us that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The same is true in relationships. Most of the barriers exist not outside but within. Love requires humility, presence, and the courage to risk being human. If you can quiet the endless analysis and allow yourself to simply be, you'll discover that love was never about perfection. It was about connection. If this video resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and comment, "I choose wisdom in love." See you in the next video.